2023 Ransomware Case Study. So I am from Cybersecurity, alumni. So Cybersecurity is a joint skill initiative by DSCI and Microsoft to upskill women in the field of cybersecurity. So now I would like to call the panelists on the stage. So Kensuk Day, Head Cybersecurity Business Charge and IR from PCS. Next we have Vivek Circling, Associate Director BY. The stage is all yours. Yeah. Fine. So the next one we have Venkat Ramshet, founder of Flexible IR. Ashwani, founder of SecOps Solutions. And the last one we have Vikas Pirai, co-founder Fire Companies. So the stage is all yours now, sir. Thank you.
Good afternoon. It's a session after lunch, so it could be heavy. We'll keep you awake. This is a real life case studies of incidents which have actually happened. We have with us, as Apurva mentioned, I'll start from that side. Venkat is a IR company. He represents Flexible IR. I've worked with him enough. Every time, multiple times I've met him in Bangalore. So he's got a platform where, if an incident happens, what all should I do? It kind of helps you plan, orchestrate. Ashwini is from SecOps. SecOps provides multiple solutions. They've got booth 24. Just go across to booth 24. Today morning I spent a lot of time in his booth. One good solution of his is it helps you burn down your vulnerabilities in your infrastructure. Patch them. That is something I was quite like, because it's a problem of the burden of huge amount of vulnerabilities that organizations don't patch, and they keep growing up 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh, etc. Because again, a very old friend of mine, he comes from an application security background. Presently, he runs Fire Compass. He's the CEO of Fire Compass, and he runs a company which provides automated pen testing. Okay, so that's because. Okay, so now I quickly hop into our agenda for today. Ransomware case studies. I hope the agenda is very clear. That means ransomware is a nuisance. In fact, it debilitates an organization. It impacts you in a way that you can't run your business, and it creates a lot of noise. It disrupts. The period of disruption is pretty long, elongated over a couple of days, in fact weeks. There are cases in which it's gone to months. In certain cases, there are organizations which have never ever come out of a ransomware. I don't want to give names. There are cloud companies who don't exist today on the face of this earth because a ransomware completely killed that off. So these are some, I will not go into it. We keep seeing these kind of headlines. I have masked some of these names in a way, but I'm sure you all can understand. This bottom right is of a pharmaceutical company, the Indian pharmaceutical company. Bottom left is the biggest healthcare provider, government healthcare provider of this country, and various others. And the attackers could be various Logway, Conti, etc. Black Cat, LPHV, Rebel, so Black Cat family has started over a period, the ransomware families have started, have evolved over a period of time. It is continuously regrouping. Initially, we had names like Rebel and all that, but they don't exist now. Okay, there are new groups like he joined my team today. He joined Nas's team. We all regroup. He becomes my affiliate. He becomes his affiliate. The affiliates have so it's as a service. He develops the toolkit. He is the affiliate who consumes the toolkit and impacts us. My case studies, this is simple question we are taking out. How did the attacker or the threat actor get into your enterprise? Did we respond? What did the organization see at the end of it? You had a ransomware, tomorrow your applications will not work outside. The world will come to know. What do I communicate to the world? What do I communicate to my customer? PR, media. It is not only a technical problem, it manifests in bigger ways. What did we learn from an incident? How did we react? What do we do tabletop exercise within your enterprise to improve things? I'll not go into detail about what is a ransomware. Ransomware malware is always made specific to type. That means it is not one standard malware which the whole world gets impacted like many of the other ones. It is made to order to impact your entity. It exfiltrates data. That means it steals your data so that it can double extort you. It's associated every malware. He is from Lockbit 3. He's got his variant. Or obviously the extortion is done over public traffic. Every group has its own leak site. They call it leak site, okay? Where you go negotiate. They advertise how much data they have exfiltrated. It's muscle power. They use strong symmetric encryption. They identify the target. It's targeted. They also put in a lot of effort because they are in the business of making money. They, in fact, your backup most important because there's no point in encrypting your whole organization and tomorrow you restore backup. So it's as a service. Again, a very simple slide. Is a threat actor. He gets initial access. How he gets initial access? There are multiple methods. A phishing email, you go to a watering hole site or a typo spotting or an impersonating site to give your credentials. One first factor gone, compromise. And then if he's able to do some social engineering and get hold of your second factor, he's got foothold into your estate. And thereafter, he does some executions of various types of files, which are like he has to get into the Active Directory because Active Directory controls the whole organization. It's no longer peer-to-peer. It is centralized. All organizations are controlled. The Active Directory is the mother. So he has to obviously know what are your Active Directory groups, objects, computers, users. So he does reconnaissance. He has to get persistence, privilege escalation, and at some stage he's also got his headquarter, that is command and control. He's talking to his headquarter and they are both communicating. They are finding a good opportune time. It's a Friday night when you all have all packed your bags and gone and you put one L1 on shift and say, okay, see you on Monday, and you all switch off your phone. So there is command and control. He comes in, exfiltrates data, ransomware deployed, whole organization is down. So, how have they become faster? Over in 2019, they used to take the fastest, about 10 hours from the time he's got into the environment. Now they are taking hardly 1.5 hours. That is their dwell time, or time within which they are executing or meeting their meeting their objective and achieving the impact. This is one case study. This is active. It's of a pharma company, no names. It's a threat actor has entered the environment. How he's entered the environment? It is, you can't find out everything in the world because like we were talking in a presentation outside, there is something which is internal, there is something which is external. Something which is external, what is happening in the dark web, or, how he's got compromised, and he's entered the environment. After he's entered the environment, he created a local on one particular console. That means now he's got persistence. He has multiple Active Directory consoles. But at the end of it, he has to get into the Active Directory as a domain admin. Thereafter, execute. Don't create a new group policy. Edit the old group policy. And thereafter, the group policy will have scheduled tasks, auto runs, or run a script. Tear down or proliferate into every endpoint and host across the environment. So he has to know what the Active Directory is. He has to get into that. Comes in. At times he needs more credentials because at times they embed credentials of users and the passwords into the malware file. So he dumps credentials. In Windows, there is a process called AISS, and but there are tools to do it in an automated manner. So he uses, in this case, he uses Mimikatz. There are other good tools. He dumps credentials, and then the output he goes and breaks offline. At the end of it, he only gets hashes. So he needs to get a hash, convert the hash. But if he gets a hash, he can do something called, with Mimikatz, he can do something called pass the hash also. Directly that will passing the hash onto the server authenticate. There are various methods. Anyway, he dumps credentials. Now he has to dance in your network for some time. No? So he does lateral movement. So at the end of it, he has to figure out your home, your escape, and then he executed, in this case, some binaries. Some of them he could figure out, some of them he couldn't figure out. Why this file? Things like they use some of the Windows portables, like PSX, or your PowerShell. These are some of the tools which help administration of your infrastructure, but they are very powerful, especially PSXZ. Is very powerful. With a PSXZ command, I can run a PSXZ on a text file, and it will execute all the commands in the text file. That's simple. Send that text file across, or it's automation. Ransomware is automation. All that he does, and thereafter he downloads. Now here the attack trajectory is he gets into the hypervisor. If he gets into the hypervisor, all your virtual machines can be used. The beauty of this attack is, like I give you an example of a cloud service provider, he gets into the hypervisor, DSCI, root, and thereafter he encrypts all the VMD keys. Can you imagine? Even the domain controller, 6 domain controllers were virtual machines. That means domain controller, Active Directory is the mother of your enterprise. There is no domain. The virtual desktop interface is your platform where you, organization or any service provider hops into your network to do various services. There is no way to. That means everything is down. Or security tools are down. Your critical applications are down. That means everything, all your machines, the whole enterprise is dead. Luckily, in this case, they had an appliance of your backup solution. That saved them the day. I'll now call upon Ashwini to talk about one very, very famous, high profile, high visibility case which involves casinos. I love it. It is the MGM Resorts breach last year.
Thank you, Kinshuk. I think it's always a challenge when you present after a veteran like Kinshuk. For those who have come later, I'm Ashwini. I'm founder and CEO of SecOps Solutions. We are a vulnerability and patch management company. We have a booth at NCOA Pavilion, so do visit. Now, coming to the case study, right? So this ransomware actually killed down the joy of a lot of people who were in Las Vegas wanting to have a good time. But as I hear from the people who were there at that time, it was complete silence, complete whitewash, because everything had stopped. There was complete IT downtime. And what I mean by IT downtime is even the elevators were locked, none of the rollets and none of the coins were coming out, so it was a complete breakdown. So first we'll cover how really the attack happened. All the security engineers in the room, I think they'll enjoy this bit a lot. So it was a very simple attack. Took about 10 minutes to get an access into the system. The attacker group, it is alleged that it was a ALPHB Black Hat group, which also did a similar attack about 3 weeks ago in Cesar Hotels. So I think they should have seen this coming, but still it went through. So the first thing that they did was send out a phishing link to the IT administrator of the hotel group, and that led to a SIM swapping. So now once SIM swapping attack was executed, they reached out to their support desk and then completely reset their MFA. After resetting the MFA, they were able to access and gain super administrative privileges to their Okta IAM servers. And now, this is the deal they have gotten into the system. So once they got in, they connected to their cloud services, got access to the domain controller, and pulled down a complete hash dump. Again, I think it was Mimikazi, as Kinshuk was saying. So you can see, the pattern is quite same, even from the previous case study. It's just the impact here is huge because we are talking about a 33 billion giant here. So they bring down, they get the entire memory dump in, and now they have stopped. They aren't doing anything. They are just holding on to their places. The group is so amazing. They now try to portray themselves as sort of a Robin Hood kind of a group. So they now say that we have reached out to them, we are waiting for them, and the group is live blogging while they're doing it. So if you are able to access their websites on dark web, they're live blogging about what they are doing, and later on they're able to get access to the ESXi hypervisor. But there's a story between why they encrypt the entire thing. So maybe if you can just move to the next slide. Right. So what happens is, immediately, as soon as they get access to the Okta IAM servers, they are able to get access to all the systems. They haven't encrypted anything yet. The network team, they get a signal around it. So now they isolate the entire system. But now when they isolate the entire system, and meanwhile the group reaches out to them, but they don't respond because they are not sure what's really happening. Because they don't receive a response within 1 day, now they start encrypting everything, which means, which is very interesting, is even after isolating their entire network, they still had access to the system, meaning they had already installed backdoors. It was done through Cobalt framework, but they already had access, backdoor access to their entire system. And then in a Zippy, they were able to log on to their 100 ELXI hypervisors, and everything went down. I know the title says about 100 million loss and about 36 hours of downtime. This was just the ID downtime. It took them more than 10 days to bring the entire system up. After the alleged ransomware attack, after 10 days was the group able to publish, write a post on their Twitter that we are back and running. 100 million is just the losses that occurred during that 36 hours. It's touted that it was much more than that. So one of the biggest challenges for them was recovering these 100 servers. Obviously, they were not able to decrypt this. They had immediately gotten in another cybersecurity firm to help them, but they were not able to recover. So for them, the only option was then to start from the fresh, get their backups up, and then get their whole thing rolling. One of the key insight from here is how big persistency they had into their system. Even after getting isolated, they were able to still implement their attack. They were able to lock down their systems, and the network segmentation team couldn't do anything. they themselves because the network is so huge, they themselves were so confused that the architecture wasn't clear as to how they are, encrypting everything. Another interesting point is, which as I said, right, they pretend themselves to be a Robin Hood group. They also like blog that we are only asking for the money of how much cyber insurance these guys have. So they access their emails, they knew how much cyber insurance coverage they have, and then they said that we are just asking for the amount of how much they have claimed for. I think this is more of a way to portray themselves as some good people in the eyes of the black hat community. I'll leave it up to the audience to decide what exactly this is. And the second part that very interestingly that they did was they exfiltrated the entire data. They sent some snapshots to the team. The team refused to come for about 2 days over a call, trying to discuss or negotiate. So the Black Hat team then live blog stating, we are still figuring out whether this is a PII data or not. But if it is a PII data, we are happy to reveal it to ihavebeenpawned.com, and it's up to them if they want to reveal it. So such is the scenario. It's I know it's not probably so funny for the resort team, but yeah, I think this is definitely a very interesting case study. And thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Ashwini. So it's cat and mouse. During an incident, there is push and pull, and whoever it's one-upmanship. It's an interesting game. Next, you've seen through 2 case studies. Yeah, in the end, we'll just do it in the end. Let's just finish the case. So now that you've seen 2 case studies, let Vikas tell us how do most organizations who have a problem like this respond based on what he has experienced. They are not linked to these 2 case studies, however, they are what we have seen from this.
Thank you. By the way, let me ask this: how many of you faced a ransomware situation? How many of you negotiated during a ransomware situation?
Did you pay?
Okay, that's a good part. How many of you are good in negotiation? Good? You're good in negotiation. So, see, in my day job, I don't do this. I don't negotiate. Since I negotiate with Kate, my wife, everybody, but not. That's not what I do. That's his kind of role. He handles incidents. It's the same, right? One Alyara is issue awake. So he doesn't do one a day, but he does a lot. I had the experience of maybe like this is more from friends and others who reach out, at least like 10 of them who reached out to me last couple of years. I helped him handling. Formally, I was involved in 4 or 5 cases. Other cases, I just introduced. Now I met him after a long time, and I introduced all going forward to him. So I'll talk about 2 cases out of those 4 where I was personally involved. So this is for an e-commerce company. And this was a very interesting kind of negotiation which we did. So this guy, the hacker, had access to PII, and he broke into an application he got asked for a big sum of money. This is like an e-commerce company, not like super largest, but series or something like this inside. And then when the negotiation became, we actually did something slightly different. So we, instead of treating that person as a hacker who is asking for ransom, we told them, you know what, like in the company, we don't have a policy to pay any ransom, but we have the policy to pay security researchers. And what we have done is essentially counter the security vulnerability, and we can pay you for that. So we positioned a bad guy as a good guy. Now that guy was thoroughly confused maybe. It is a very weird situation. Suddenly he started kind of being treated in a good way. So, and it seems like this wasn't like a hardened criminal. And when we did that, he said, okay, fine, like give us this amount of money. And I personally I asked them the questions. So we told like, okay, what we need to do is you need to sign up to this small agreement. You can put whatever name you want, and everybody will validate for us. And after that, we have this APA, etc. So we actually send you a proper legal document and put some consultancy into the things like that. And we asked for a big submission. Then we told, you know what, this is what we can do. In this particular we have, we are going to do that. So that was like a nice negotiation where we really person not as a criminal but as a good. So it's a very different kind of way which we did, and it worked out quite well. And then what we did is we informed all the internal stakeholders, we created this application documentation, or as a research, so that the entire training in that manner, we got quality assurance and everything which would lead. That's like something which we at Firecom do is like we do this already practice pen testing. So this is my belief that if you see that even attacker have entered your house through some doors, stole something, you must also go and check out there some other open doors and windows are not, right? This is something which I consistently see people missing. They would do the forensics, figure out how the murder happened, get the mortgage functions or whichever technologies, but they would not go and check the other doors and windows and can they be broken into next. 80-90% of the cases, I don't know why just people miss. We just don't do it. So since we have a platform, we kind of did this in 48 hours, a very rapid testing. And interestingly, we found 10 more attack paths through which we could have done lateral, like initial access and then do lateral. So I don't know that attacker also knew it or not, but most likely that person knew. If that person targeted is that person would have done it because. So that's one thing which we did. Then after that, we this gap assessment, like we got into Ransomware services, but in this case, gap assessment, whether you have to respond to cover, etc. That was long term. So this is one interesting thing which we did. Another case study. So this is for a larger organization, it's a public company now, and they actually brought down some of these systems. They were in brought down, and the threat actor decided to, like they said, like within 24 hours we leak it to the media, etc. And during the negotiation phase, the money was big and these guys were still deciding whether to pay the ransom or not. But by the time they could decide, this guy decided to put some sample up. And then the management decided no point in negotiating because anyway it's now known to some of the folks. So they focused on in terms of how to handle it, how to respond. I'm not going through that. All of you know what's the way. The good way is to basically economically transact down to the website and then showed like the kind of steps which we are doing. They have to do complex stakeholder management stuff to their partners and stuff like that. Filing police complaint, that's a must. All those things they do. And also we did this another attack surface testing for these guys. So largely similar in terms of the steps which you take, but these two responses are completely different. Depending on whether you want to pay ransom or not. And if you pay ransom, you have the kind of some option. You can try out this approach of not treating that guy as a ransom guy. See if you treat the person as a good person, how does it work? In our case, I've seen like almost always treated as one when we treat it like and then after 24 hours, the standard. I don't know how some countries legal to pay extortion money.
it's an organizational decision. But like I always say, no Indian company has influence in pay such. And most important, if you pay, you are not assured that you will be able to decrypt your data. So even here, it is pay as you go. Pay something, you give you some key, you decrypt. Because see, he's also, all his files, he will probably decrypt it with a different key. So you pay as you go. You say, okay,
See, if it is like decryption kind of thing, you can't position that as a security research, right? Like in this case, this was application vulnerability, got access to the data. More or less, the bug guys are a lot of times like a if you have spoken to them, many are very good. They kind of ask for a ransom in a slightly different
this community of ethical hackers, they have got shadows of grey and shadows of black and shadows of white.
So you can't do that if it is like a decryption key and do that because that no way you can position it, right? Because the documentation has to be fair and right. So in the other case it's very hard. I don't know if you position that with any idea.
So now that you know what a real ransomware is, what does an organization plan ahead? Typically, we always say it shouldn't be reactive. If suddenly one day you have a ransomware, there's chaos, panic, and it's chaotic. So you don't want to be in that situation. So how does a typical organization plan? Is what Venkat from Flexible IR will talk.
Thank you very much for your time. Good to be interactive discussion over here. Is my voice audible enough? Okay. Hello? Yeah, perfect. So now, we saw some wonderful case studies, right? I mean, the good part about them are they're all stories. See, you need to have stories, you need to have stories to explain to your management. So now, how do you explain that? The key takeaway from this 30 minutes or 45-minute session is when you go to your management, how do you talk to them, right? How do you bring up stories to them? See, if you tell them, I want this, but it won't work. You need to tell them clearly, these are the stories, this happened, this is how they handled, what went well, what did go through well, right? So you saw some lovely case studies that went through. They are, of course, very empathetic to them. At the same time, we learn a lot from them. The storylines that they bring about is fantastic. I mean, we need to learn from it. That's the thought process for this entire exercise. That's how all the dots get connected. Why case study? Now, see, one of the biggest things is the cloud. When the incident happens, see, I work with companies day in and day out. I work with journalists when the impact they call us. One of the biggest things is your time. Right? You don't have time. So, Tim, I'll ask you one quick question. If assume one of your organizations is impacted, say exactly around 3:15 now, right? If 3:15 you are impacted, what do you feel is the timeline when you do the automation? Someone not in my favor, okay. Anyone who is little concerned. 4 hours, okay. So someone told 1 minute, 4 hours, 2 hours, right? 1 hour. But if you look at today's social media impact, right, the way there is chances that things can go out in a minute's time also. Again, it depends if it's an internal or external detection. See, if it is an internal detection, like you have detected in the morning, so today is again it's 3 o'clock, 3:15. If you have detected, there is an early warning system that has triggered a SOC alert. If you have detected, say around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, you have some time to respond. Because the world doesn't know about it. But now, let's just suppose the customer side is impacted. The world knows it will come on tweet in minutes. Right? So that's where you need to be fast. I mean, there is no way. What I'm going to give you are some of the clear blueprints, frameworks for the next 5 to 10 minutes. You need to be prepared for a 1 minute response. So things will go out fast. Right? So you need to plan out, imagine case studies where things will be out fast. You need to control the narrative. For example, if 10 or 50, let's assume around 1,000 records have gone out of the organization, right? For example, if you don't control the narrative, the media will tell it's going to be millions of records gone out. So you need to control your narrative. See, the fundamental is control the narrative, right? Don't allow the media to control you. So again, internal detection versus external detection. Team, I'll be repeating some of these words. Please note that the takeaway is after you go out, you're propagating to the rest of the team also. Okay, that's okay. Now, overall, see if you look at what is incident response, right? It's all about, okay. Before that, let me talk about one more important thing. When you start off, it's basically an alert. The alert becomes a potential incident. Potential incident becomes a crisis. Right? That you should know very clearly. See, when it's a crisis, the way you respond is going to be different. Now, one of the key things for incident response is it's all about orchestration, communication, and programming. It's all about leadership skills. The way leadership talks, right? The moment he talks, things change. The environment changes. So that's why it's important to have clear leadership skills. As the IR plans, the secret sauce, there are three things, three ingredients for your response. As the IR plans, complex playbooks, and tabletop exercise. What do you mean by IR plans? It means clearly I have a plan. If an attack happens at say for example 3:15, these are the people who are going to handle the crisis. We have their phone numbers, we are going to create a war room. We are also going to see what are the actions of each of the team members. So it could also be a crisis management. That's probably one of the things that we need to have. So overall, you need to know what's your IR plan, what are the threats you could possibly anticipate, and how do you respond to it. How do you respond is the playbooks. You'll have clear steps telling, okay, if an attack happens, the DDoS, the website defacement, the ransomware, I will do this. That's the thought. Finally, you have your plans, you have your playbooks. It's of no use until you practice. You need to have your tabletop exercise. Please note that MGM case, some of the case studies that you saw now, I'm sure the crisis management team would have gone through. Their teams would have practiced. So in spite of taking so much of practice, it's surprising. So do you feel MGM team was not out on tabletop?
Maybe on paper,
Yes.
it requires rigorous exercise.
Yes, it's rigorous exercise, right? So it's you need to have a plan and do rigorous exercise. What I do now, okay, one more important thing. It's intentionally put at the bottom so that everyone, all of you focus. It's so important. Having all this works, but you need to have a commander. You need to have a clear someone who's conducting. Like he's here at the bottom, but he's actually the person who's going to drive it. So you need to have someone in your team. It could be anyone. The role could be assumed, right? It's not declared role. It could be assumed role. Whoever can lead. I mean, someone who can come and tell, I need this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I own this. No blame games. Okay. I mean, first thing is when an attack happens, no blame game. You are wasting time. So be firm. Be conclusive. Do not. In fact. Your voice. There's no point. I mean, you need to be very, very confirmative, clear communication when attacks happen. And otherwise, you can be calm always. But when attacks happen, you have to be clear. So I'm giving you a clear blueprint here. The takeaway, which you can propagate to across. Right? You need to see what we are doing is we are doing nationwide ransomware capacity building. Right? So this team should be able to tell, okay, these are the steps you need to do. Take this as a takeaway, spread it in WhatsApp group, any group, so that we can understand clearly what are the steps you take. Okay. First thing is, when an attack happens, you need to respond in a much more structured and planned way. You cannot do ad hoc response. No ad hoc response. Clear, right? You cannot do ad hoc response, it's dangerous. You need to know exactly what to do beforehand. Second, you need to have clear incident response plans, defined roles and responsibilities, SLAs, communication details, and templates. Before an attack happens itself, I mean, you should know exactly. This is the attack happens. These are my communication templates. Inside, outside, stakeholders, everyone. Playbooks, clearly having course of action. Very important. Something like this, it could be a simple document. It could be Excel sheet telling this are my steps for response. You need to have clear tabletop practice drills. You need to walk through case studies, the ones that we have done, right? See, please note that all the dots are getting connected. You need to go through case studies, understand stories, how your organization will respond to it. What I'm not put here is, if you have P1 incident, sorry, P3 incidents, treat them as P1. Right? That's the way to go. Treat them as P1, handle them as a crisis, you'll get better. The story tells, if you add 3 incidents, you get better. Finally, have a set of anti-stories. quick framework to identify the ransomware family. In fact, when I was entering here, someone asked me, will a decryptor key work? Right? First thing in incident response is understand what's the motive of the attacker. Right? Who is the attacker? Understand the ransomware family. Have a framework for it, so you can know. You may find a decryptor. You never know, right? For example, if one of the big agency has blocked the ransomware family, you may get a decryptor. You don't know. So keep your eyes open. Keep your out-of-box thinking on. That's the message. You never know. First, okay, but most important is your communication strategy. You cannot have long-running emails. You cannot have long-running talks. Nothing works. It has to be precise, clear. Here is an example, which is well-documented approach. Here it tells, for inside out, what is the time, targeted organization, what is the ransomware variant, what is the initial attack vector. You may not know your initial attack vector initially, right? Because your patient zero takes some time to analyze, but know it well. What is the attack impact? Encryption of critical files, extortion demand. So structure it, right? All I'm telling is structure your response everywhere. So we are bringing structure to your response. Plan, attack, response. But last, okay. See, if you see here, right? Please think of, take a time, take 30 seconds of your time. A company could get into massive reputation loss, financial loss. I mean, you think about the damage, all the damages, right? A few companies could close down. I mean, smaller companies, I've seen law firms, for chartered accountant firms closing down because they have no option. All the money is gone. So, it's questions for you. Please take 30 minutes of time. Do you want to plan? Do you want to do ad hoc response or a structured response? So please take time, think, and let's see how together we can do.
So the last statement is very clear. Whether you're defended it or you're planning it, you're thinking, only thinking about it. It has to be action. That is a very, very clear message. I come from a background in the military where people say, would you certain these unless you bleed in water? So carry out, take your legal process technology, then architected, configure everything well, got your plans ready, IR plan, no flexible IR, and then you will defend it. Otherwise, it will fall. Thank you very much. Any questions? No, we'll not give any names.
In the first case there you said that the savior was that backup of files, right? Because of it, they could restore all the backup. However, in the casino case, did they not have any backup like that?
Right. So because the backups were available, but there was a lot of confusion due to the network isolation. And the problem was with the decision making as to do you decide to talk to the black hat to try to gain access to the existing system remotely, or do you work on getting the backup and keeping up everything? But one more thing I wanted to add to Richard, he mentioned that rigorous testing is important. I also feel a rigorous observation is important because something like a attack on a scissor palace had happened 3 weeks ago, and companies within the same domain have also a lot of similar tech stack. Like for example, if you take education services, not tech companies but education services, a lot of them would have an LMS stack. So tech stack is quite similar there. So if tech stack is similar, and you have already seen that one of the domains getting attacked, I as an attacker would like to replicate the same attack around the same domain because then it's a less effort for me, right? So I think observation should be a very critical part of training and trying to learn. Like I hope it's being done, but a lot of casino companies should now read into these case studies and start preparing themselves for the kind of attack. Like social engineering attack is the common theme here that is being happening. So I think focusing on that could be helpful.
Yeah, just one last thing. We talked about backup and recovery. In certain cases, even backups have been corrupted, your catalogs have been infected, your backup solution itself has been destroyed. So you have to go back to backup for maybe 5 days, 6 days. Is that the right option? So that
RTO.
yeah. And so those are all. I've had one case of a company which handles 200 airports in Europe, passenger services. Okay, 200 airports. Indira Gandhi terminal is there's 3 airports, or I'll say 3 terminals. This is 200 terminals across Europe. I'll not give the name. Starts with S. Completely detonated. They had the passenger manifest in paper for 1 week, onboarding people onto the aircraft in Europe. Okay, they did not. They did not. The backups failed. They had to go back to an Iron Mountain backup solution, which is 2 years old. So there are these things, but simple mantra. Time is up. 3 to 1. 3 backups on 2 different media, 1 offline. Do this. Test your backup. Test your thing that you're able to recover. Otherwise, when the crunch day comes, you may not recover. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you very much.